Lion woke up to the beautiful winter sun. Its faint light streamed onto his face, insisting upon his wakeful attention. Normally the shutters were closed to prevent such an early awakening, but he had forgotten to close them last night. One of the wooden shutters hung askew. He asked his wife how she slept last night, but she did not answer. She had stayed up late. It was unusual for him to be the first one up. Far more common for Hilda to be caressing him awake, or the children's squabbling voices to usher him into the morning. He came to his feet, shrugging off tattered and torn bedsheets. He had a full day's work ahead of him, and he wanted to start. His business was booming. Never had his smithing been more in demand. He was at the forge or anvil for most of the day, and he was likely going to take a second apprentice soon. Ever since Avacyn's return last year, the demand for new tools and ploughs was high. And ever since the Cursemute, Lion was able to satisfy that demand. The Cursemute. Everything had changed with the Cursemute, a blessing wrought by Avacyn's magic. Some werewolves had been transformed into wolven servants of Avacyn, the Wolfear. But Lion had been cured entirely, and he said his blessings to Avacyn every day. He was back with his family, back in his home, able to travel to the town and look the people in the eye, and know no fear. The absence of fear was wonderful, the absence of dread and worry and weight, no more constant gnawing, clutching at his insides. No more staring up at the moon, wondering if night would bring the darkness, the true darkness. All dissipated into the light, thanks to Avacyn's benevolent power. He had a life again, a life with his family. He dressed, picking up scattered clothes from the floor. He went back to Hilda to wake her. She was groggy, barely stirring, and her speech was still faint and wispy from sleep.
Good morning, husband.
Hilda's mouth was still and
I'll have
small.
to fix that later.
Lion wanted to tell her a joke.
Some of these
See
need
her
mending.
beautiful smile.
I'll give them to Hilda
But
tonight.
Hilda did not have the best sense of humor in the morning. I'm going outside to the smithy. I need to get the plough started for Knickers. The children are still asleep. Hilda didn't reply. Are you all right, dear? He peered closer. Hilda's voice was still soft, faint.
The poxes are out in bloom.
Lion was glad she was awake. Good, darling, good. I'll be back at midday for lunch. Her voice was louder, colder.
Lion, when the door is knocked, do not open it.
A shiver went down Lion's spine. When the door is... But he brushed the thought away. Hilda had already returned to sleep, lying motionless on the torn bed. She must have been up very late. He went to the beds of his children, stepping over shards of wood and glass, hearing them crunch beneath his feet. When Hilda wakes up, she'll not be happy with this mess. I'll sweep it up later today. He stopped first at the prone form of Talia. She did not stir. Her normally bright eyes, so joyful to see him, closed at rest. He shook her gently, and her eyes opened.
Good morning, Father.
Her voice was listless, dull. She must be so tired. I'll let her rest. Go back to sleep, my daughter. He bent down and kissed her, his warm lips on her cool forehead.
Father, when the door is knocked, do not open it.
Her words picked up strength. She sounded scared. When he rose up from kissing her forehead, she had already fallen back asleep. Lion realized he was scared too, but put it aside. It was strange to feel fear on a bright winter morning, with the sun pouring through broken windows and large rents in the walls. It is cold in here. I'll have to board up those holes. He tarried briefly on the other side of the bed to say goodbye to his son. Khan was a few years younger than Talia, the perfect age to want to do all the things his older sister did, but do them in a way that infuriated her. Most days at this time he would already be running around the house, bouncing off the walls until his mother let him go outside to play in the fenced yard between the house and the smithy. But this morning he just lay quiet and still. As Lion stood there staring at his sleeping son, the boy's eyes flew open. Good morning, Father. Lyant could barely hear him, his voice was so faint. Lyant wondered if the boy was sick, if he needed a healer. Father, when the door is knocked, do not open it. The boy's eyes were shut again, and Lyant noticed how quiet the room was. Silent except for the sound of a single person's heavy breath. Despite all the sunshine and chill wind whistling through the gaping rents in the walls, Lyant felt stuffy, a pressure in his head that would not leave. Lyant bowed his head under the aching pressure. The room was suffused with a coppery, bitter scent. He had to get out of the house. 3 voices cried out in his bowed head.
When the door is knocked, do not open it.
There was a knock at the door. Lyant lifted his head. He looked at the door, except there was no door. Where the door usually stood, there was only empty sunlit air. When the door is knocked, do not open it. Not only was the door gone, but the hinges were twisted and bent. I'm going to have to forge new hinges. First I have to get started on Nicker's plow, and then there was another knock at the door. A heavy thudding echoed throughout the room. When the door is knocked, Lyant looked again at the open space where the door once stood. Something was wrong. Why was this house a shambles? I don't have time to clean this up right now. I have to get to the smithy. More knocking. How can there be knocking? There's no door. Pain blossomed in his head. Pain so bright and fresh, he sank to his knees with the force of it. As he closed his eyes tight, he saw a bright door in his mind. A bright door pulsing with red. He heard more knocking, more heavy thudding, and it was coming from behind the red door, the door in his mind. He just had to open it to stop the knocking. Everything would be alright if the knocking stopped. He reached out a hand in his mind to do not open it. Lyant grabbed the handle of the door inside his head. The handle was metal and ice cold. He pushed down the handle, but it did not want to turn. He pushed, his hand hurting from the cold, and pushed again, growling. The handle turned. Lyant opened the door. Suppressed reality burst forth into vision. He saw what was behind the door. No, 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 no. Still on his knees, he rocked back and forth, clutching his head in grief and rage. Blood was everywhere. On the walls, the bed, the floor. His hands and body were covered in it, the blood leaking through the torn clothes he had put on minutes before. He looked at the body of Hilda, her face frozen in terror, as she lay unmoving on the bed. Who had done this? He knew who had done this. Feverish images rose in his mind. Snarling, the screams, the claws raised high in the moonlight. He lifted his head and howled his agony into the cold winter sun, the sun that followed the hunter's moon. The Cursemute! What happened to the Cursemute? What he had done should not have been possible. He was free of the curse, free! He snarled a prayer to the air. Avacyn! Why have you forsaken me? Avacyn! He knelt there sobbing for a long time. He wanted to die. He wanted his family back. He wanted to hear the laughter of Talia and Khan. He wanted to hear them fighting. He wanted it to be yesterday again. Please, let it be yesterday. Let me go to sleep and wake up in yesterday. I'll wake up and I'll leave. I'll leave and never return. Just let it be yesterday. Let... The roof of his house exploded overhead. Lyant looked up, staring at the figure hovering above him. A figure with wings and silver hair, and a large glowing spear. Could it possibly be? Could she possibly be able to? His voice croaked with pain, the words barely able to form. Please, please! The angel, perhaps it was Avacyn herself, did not respond, did not even seem to hear him speaking. She pointed her spear at him, and the tip grew bright, brighter, brighter than the sun overhead. And the lancing energy struck him in the chest, burning away clothes and skin. He screamed in agony even as he welcomed pain. This is what I deserve. But still, maybe the angel could save his family. His vision dimmed. He had to. Mercy, please! Mercy for... His mouth stopped working. His lips stopped moving, and his plea continued in the growing darkness of his mind. For my family! For my beautiful family, please! They deserve... The angel pointed her spear at him again. Her lips turned up as she spoke the last words Liant ever heard.
Justice. There is no mercy.
The spear flashed. Mercy! Liant thought, and then he died.